What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my EX1 updated D-Brigade. Now, this is a list that I keep updating pretty much every format just because I really love D-Brigade. I really love this archetype. I love playing it, and I love getting all the new tools from the new sets and updating it. And EX1 did give us some pretty nice tools, as well as this deck has been topping a couple of the recent events, online events, including a Nationals. And so I was able to get a lot of new ideas from that as well to start testing myself and try to figure out what I think the best D-Brigade list is right now. And so this is what I came to. I really have been enjoying this list. It feels a lot better than it did previously. The deck just starts to flow a little bit better. The reason that D-Brigade has been topping so much recently, I can start to understand, because the security of this deck is very strong, while also being able to have this rookie rush style. So you're able to swing in very early with a lot of your rookies, and then when your opponent starts to go in for security checks, you can get a lot of security Digimon that come out and come in for game, as well as the option cards in security. So I've been really loving this deck, but let's go ahead and get on into the deck profile. So to start it off with the Digitama, we're going to go ahead and have the 4 Pagumon here, and then the 1 Sumamon. Now, with this list, I was considering going down to 3 Pagumon, and then going up to 2 Sunamon, just because Mechanorimon was starting to become a little bit of an issue because you didn't really have a lot of good ways to get around it. However, we did make some changes to the list to where Mechanori is a little bit more manageable now, which made it so that the second Sumamon was not really that necessary. So the Pagumon is just going to be a little bit better just because it is a resource engine. Whenever one of your Digimon goes down, you're going to be able to search, add a black Digimon, or look at the top. If it's a black Digimon, add it to your hand, which can be very powerful, especially if you know what's in the order, like you just played Izzy, for example, or something. But then you have the 5th egg. You really want it for security control and slower matchups where you're going to be hatching and promoting every opportunity that you can get. But it's also really nice to buff up your 5k D-Brigade Commandromons up into 7k, and then you can swing over most blockers, or even be able to swing over some champions just because of the eggs. So these eggs are very powerful. Like I said, you could consider going down to 3 and 2, but I think you just need a 4 and 1 if you're going to be playing this list. Now getting into the rookies, we will be playing the standard 16 Commandromon. So we're going to have the 4 rare Commandromon, the most powerful Commandromon most of the time, because you're going to be able to search more Commandromons after this one is deleted, whether that's on your turn or your opponent's turn, so you can recycle this. You can get a security check in. If it goes down, play another D-Brigade, to which then you can Digivolve on top of it if you want to, or you can threaten to have another attack next turn, especially if this dies on your opponent's turn. They delete this, and then you search out another Commandromon, and then it can attack when it comes to your turn, so this card is very, very good. Then we're going to be having 4 of the 2-drop Commandromon. Nothing to really say crazy about this one. It's a 2-drop 3k, pretty strong. If you're able to on your first turn put this in raising, or the 5k in raising, and then hard play this to put your opponent at 2, that's usually one of the stronger starts that you can get with this deck, because you can get a lot of presence out, and then you can get this 2-drop Commandromon, put your opponent at minimal memory, and it's very powerful. Then we're going to be having 4 of the 5k Commandromon. Again, this card is very, very good, works really well with the Sumamon to make it 7k, but being able to have a 5k Commandromon is very powerful. If you bring this out with the rare Commandromon, you get a 5k on board, which means that it can survive a lot of checks, especially in this metagame versus like Gabumon, Agumon, Jesmon. There's a lot of more cards that you can survive against in security, so you can potentially get multiple checks, while also being able to swing over most rookies and some champions. So this card is very powerful. And then to finish off the Commandromon, we are just going to be having the 4 blocker Commandromon. Of course, you want the defensive nature of the blocker Commandromon. You want to have all 16 Commandromons just so you can have the consistency of hitting all of your D-Brigade cards, getting your Commandromons out, making sure you hit this as much as possible, and getting the D-Brigade in trash for your Darktromons. But the 4 blocker Commandromon is really good, one of the better ones to get off of the rare Commandromon, because you can just swing out, you can get this on there, now you have a blocker on board which can stop one of your opponent's attacks. It obviously is a little bit weaker because it is only 2k, but the thing is having blocker is really, really big keyword, so these cards are really good. So this is going to finish up the Commandromon lineup. Then to get into the rest of the rookies, we are going to play 3 Hagurumon, probably the best card that we got from the EX1 set. This card allows it so you can trash one of your Digimon with Cyborg or Machine in its types to draw 2 cards, while all of the D-Brigade cards do have Cyborg in their traits, as well as the Hagurumons themselves have it. So a lot of the times you can just play this, discard one of your D-Brigades into the trash so you can make your Darktromon cheaper, and then you can draw 2 cards, which is really, really good cycle. This card has been very, very key. A lot of people have been playing it at 4, so I decided to play it at 3, so that way I could also play a Chumon. Chumon's very important in this list because of just the nature of the metagame that we're in right now. With blue being very dominant with their Ice Walls and their Hammer Sparks, it makes it better to swing into security. It also just slows down a lot of other decks, like for example Lilith Loop gains a lot of memory. Being able to slow that down for a little bit is very nice. Being able to slow down just all the memory boosts that are in the metagame is very good, and it's also just good against security control because you can put them at minimum memory and make it so they can't reinforce memory boost. So that way that whenever they use their removal spell, they give you maximum memory. So I like the 1 Chumon. I really wanted to put it up to 2. I have been trying to put it up to 2, but right now we're sitting at 20 rookies, and I really couldn't find the room to really go up more. And after trying out 2 Haguru, 2 Chumons, I decided to go with the 3rd Haguru because this card is just helps the consistency of the deck so much and helps you find the cards that you need that I opted to go with this, but you could go with 2 Chumon because this card is very, very good in the current metagame. Then getting into the champions, we're going to go ahead and just start off with the 4 Sealsdramon. It's a D-Brigade blocker. In these lists, you normally don't want to play a lot of blockers because it is a more aggressive deck, but it is a D-Brigade. It is also a 6k blocker, which is very helpful, but this card does work really well. Being able to get the blocker up to slow down, especially in this type of build where you have like the more security style based, where you have a lot of things coming out of your security, this does help slow down the game, and then once they start going into security, you're going to be able to get those good checks. But 4 Sealsdramon is just really good. You could consider cutting this down to 3. It is going to drop the consistency of you having defense as well as the consistency of having your D-Brigades lower, or higher in the trash to make your Darkdramons lower, but you can still play it at 3 just because it's not the most impactful card, but it is a D-Brigade, so you want to try to keep that number up. Then we're going to have 3 Geogray and 2 Cordramons. These are going to be our starter deck Digimons. I was playing more Cordramons in the past, but with the addition of Hagurumon being able to draw out, I opted to go down in Cordramons and up to Geograymons. Geograymons are really good in the metagame right now. If it comes out against something like the D-Brigade Mirror, Gabubond, Agubond, a lot of the times the card that it swings is going to die to the 5k, and then this comes out for free and pops another rookie, which is going to help a lot, especially when you are going aggressive early. Get these extra Digimon out. The security Digimon are very, very powerful in here. But like I said, the Hagurumon made it the Cordramon not as good because you already get a lot of cycle, so that cycle plus this cycle does really just kind of give you so much different variety of being able to draw that you didn't really need to play more than the 2 Cordramons, and I just found the Geograymons to be a little bit more powerful, so that way you can kind of get some board presence. It pairs really well with the Sealsdramon, because if you can start to like slow down the board state, get a Sealsdramon up, start popping things with here, it's really good. But like I said, these are very great security triggers, so you want to be up in the count so you can have a higher chance of hitting them in there. Then we're going to play 2 Ogremon, the tech that I kind of stole from the Nationals topping list. I've never really thought about putting Ogremon in the list, but when I saw it, it makes so much sense. It's really sick. You're going to be able to play this, trash a D-Brigade into your hand, once again being able to make it so your Darkdramons are cheaper, get more D-Brigades in the stack, but also you're going to be able to pop Mechanorimon, which is one of the most important things in this deck. Mechanorimon can get shut down pretty hard. I talked about it earlier with the Sumomon, where I was saying you don't need it to go up to 2, and that's the reason is partly because of these Ogremons plus another couple cards that we have later in the list. But these being able to play, get a body on board, trash a D-Brigade, and pop a Mechanorimon is going to be very impactful because you can't swing on top of this. You don't have anything you can Digivolve this onto or Digivolve on top of it, so it is just kind of one of those cards like the Cordramons and the Geograys where once they come out, they are just what they are. But this card is so very good at being able to pop blockers while also being able to develop a body that I just absolutely like it, and it's very low memory because a lot of the other ways to delete it are high memory, like Ultimate Flare, Iron Fisted Onslaught, stuff like that. Being able to play this for 5, get a body on board, pop something, and be able to start swinging in is very, very good. So I do really like this Ogremon tech, and I'm definitely probably going to be continue using this going forward, maybe just as a 1 of, maybe as a 2 of. In future metas we'll see, but this has been really, really good in a Mechanori metagame. And then to finish off the champions, we are going to be playing 2 of the Nanimon. Now this card I'm not super impressed with. It is a nice 3-drop champion, and it's 2 to Digivolve if you need to cycle on top of your rookies, but it's a 2k, 2 to Digivolve, so it's not very powerful, and it is expensive to Digivolve on top of, and we're not playing any ultimates, so hard playing a 3-drop champion for cheap doesn't really help us that much. But it is a security Digimon, it does come out, it does help with the cycle. I didn't really want to go higher on the Cordramon and Geograymon just because with those and the Ogremons, a lot of times you can just have a handful of champions that all you can do is hard play them, and you can't really cycle, or they're really expensive, and so this does give us a cheaper option to play something on the board. It kind of is just like a pseudo rookie that you can Digivolve on top of that also has a security effect, so I decided to play it at 2. I'm not the biggest fan of Nanimon, so I don't really keep this card as a high count. I really like the Geogray and the Cordramon much more, but like I said, this is something that you can cycle on top of. You can also play it for cheap like it is a rookie, and it is a security trigger, so it does work with the list, but not my biggest or not my favorite champion. Then we're going to go ahead and play 3 Darkdramon. If you watch my D-Brigade profiles in the past, you know I'm just a big fan of the 3 Darkdramon Darkramon over the 4. They can get very clunky. In this list particularly, as we're going to see, I am a little bit lower on level 7s than I am in a lot of my other D-Brigade lists, which could make it so you could go higher in the Darkramon count because they aren't going to be as clunky. But the thing is with Darkramon, most of the time you're never going to play more than 2 a game. You might only play 1 a game, so having more can be very clunky. And with the Ogremons and the Hagurumons, the cycle in this list is very insane, and so you can get to your Darkramons pretty quickly. There's a really good chance that you get them lower, so I just liked it as 3. I think the 4 is just a little bit too clunky because you're never really going to play more than 2, so that makes it so if you have 3 or more in your hand at any given time, then at least one of those is a dead card at all times, unless you just discard it. But with that being said, I just like it at the 3, and then to go into the level 7s, I am just playing 1 Millenniumon and 1 Zwart Defeat. Like I said, a little bit lower on the level 7 counts just because playing a lot of D-Brigade, one of the biggest problems that I had was clunking in this list. I was playing the 3-4 Zwart Defeats with the 3 to 4 Darkramons, the high count of 8-drop option cards and all that. It just felt very clunky, and so going into this list, I wanted to make more room for some rookies. I wanted to make more room for the champions like the Ogremons, so I had to find some spots to cut. So I decided to cut down on Zwart Defeats just because if they are in your hand, they're not going to be as good because if you go on top of your Darkramon, you play this out and you swing, you have to have it survive and then you can Digivolve on top of it, but it's still really not as powerful. So I'm not as impressed with the Zwart Defeat as I was in the past, especially with the new security Digimon coming in and kind of being a little bit more impactful. If this isn't security, obviously it's a very fantastic card, and it's going to give you a lot of value, but I just like it at 1, and then I'm playing the 1 Millenniumon for Craniumon. You don't really have answers for Craniumon here, so with the 1 Millenniumon, you can go play the Darkramon, you can Digivolve on top of Millenniumon, bottom deck the Craniumon, give yourself an option to start getting rid of these blockers. Then you can start Ogremoning the Mechanorimons or anything like that. So Millenniumon's just an answer. We do have a couple other answers to Craniumon in the list, but this is just a very nice one. It's going to make it so you can go into the Darkramon and then you can bottom deck something and maybe get a swing in if they don't block with the Craniumon or whatever. But I just found the Millenniumon to be nice. It is a nice little tech, and it's a 13k in security like the Zwart Defeat, so they are pretty big. If most Megas swing into this, they are going to go down, so it is a nice also pseudo security check just because it is higher DP. But like I said, the level 7 counts are a little bit lower in this list just because I wanted to make room for other cards in the list that are a little bit more impactful, that are way cheaper to use, but these are nice techs. I didn't want to just play the 1 Millenniumon, which is what I was considering for a bit, because the Zwart Defeat just felt a little low, and so I was considering playing, do I want to play Zwart Defeat or do I want to play regular Zwart as the second level 7, and I decided to go with the Defeat because it is Tamer meta, so being able to pop a Tamer is good. If this does come out of security, you get insane value, and then of course you do have the on deletion effect of Zwart, which gives it even more value. So just 1 in 1 here with the 3 Darkramons is what I'm liking, and it's making the deck clunk way less, so I very, very much like this ratios. Now getting into the Tamers, we're going to go ahead and have 2 Izzies. This is going to be our Memory Tamer. This card is just very good at being able to search the top, so that way if you play this and then you're about to swing in with the rare Commandramon where it searches the top 3 on deletion, you can make sure there's a Commandramon in there. If there's not, then you don't have to swing, but you can also just make sure you get the cards that you want in your next 3 on top so you can draw in a better order. But most part, you just need a Memory Tamer in this list because of Darkramon. You need at least 3 to be able to play the Darkramon, gain the 10 memory and go down to 0. So you want the 2 Memory Tamers. They're very vital, and so I chose Izzy just because they do let you search the top 3, which helps both with the Commandramons as well as just other random cards. So you can draw with the Hagurumon, or you can top deck the card that you need instead of top decking like Zwart Defeat or something like that. So I do like Izzy. Then we're going to play 1 Izzy Joe. This card is a card that is played a lot in D-Brigade lists, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. Sometimes it feels really bad to play because you are losing some momentum, but in a lot of matchups, this card is very good. It's going to give you 2 memory every single turn, which is really good value. On top of Izzy, you go to 5 every single turn, so I decided to just play it at 1. I was playing it at 2 to 3 in a couple other lists, and I slowly started to cut it down because I wasn't a big fan of it. I was originally playing this at 0 in this list, but the reason I put it back in is because I was playing 2 Analog Boy. This card is very good in D-Brigade because you're able to, for 2-drop, you get to search, and you also get to trash the cards that come out, so you can get extra D-Brigades into your trash while also searching out a card. And so I was playing 2 Analog Boy. I decided to cut it down to 1 just because I can't really activate its other effect, and so it's just kind of a 2-drop searcher that trashes some cards. And so after playing it with 2 for a little bit, it felt a little underwhelming at 2. I felt like I just really needed to play 1 a game, so that way I could go ahead and trash the cards, search something out, and then I do have a white option card we're going to talk about that you can activate off of this. So The one here is fine, but I still wanted to try to play 4 Tamers because I was enjoying it, so I decided to go back to the 1 Izzy Joe and the 1 Analog Boy. They do work together pretty well just because, like I said, this card got a little redundant at 2, and so being able to play this and stack it on top of the Izzy does help. Going up to 5 makes it so you can play Ogremon without passing your turn and stuff like that, so I have been enjoying these 4 Tamers specifically, but we'll get into more use of the Analog here in a second. Now getting into the option cards, we are going to be playing the 4 Ultimate Flare. Now this is a little bit higher of Ultimate Flare count than some other lists are playing, but it's just such a powerful card. Being able to hit this in security, especially in this metagame, can really give you a big, huge advantage versus a lot of decks like Gabubond, D-Brigade, Jesmon, stuff like that, because if you have a high consistency of it, then they swing in, they can kind of hit it. Versus the Gabubon matchup, they're going to ice wall you a lot, so you need to be able to stop big swings. So if they start going into like wide board state of rookies and then go into Bond, they swing, they hit Ultimate Flare, you pop their whole board, or you can just hard play it to pop their board. It is very good, so I like the 4 flares here. To make room for the 4 flares, we are only playing 2 Iron Fisted Onslaught. A little bit lower on this card. I don't value Iron Fisted Onslaught as much as I do Ultimate Flare, just because this card is cool because you can pop something very big. Sometimes you can pop 2 things very big, but for the most part, Ultimate Flare is going to be able to delete more than 1 Digimon at a time. As for Iron Fisted Onslaught, a lot of the time is going to be able to just delete one big Digimon at a time, where this can make it smaller and then delete all the other small stuff. So I do like the Ultimate Flare more than I do like the Iron Fisted Onslaught, but that might just be a personal preference, but I have found the Ultimate Flares to be a little bit more effective. Then we're going to play 1 Dark Roar. I was playing 3 Dark Roars previously, but I decided to cut down on Dark Roars because we are playing the Ogremons. The Dark Roars, there's mostly 4 Mechanorimon as an answer, and so being able to cut down this to play Ogremon is nice because Ogremon is a body. It can also just randomly pop other stuff. Like Dark Roar can pop other things as well, but this is a play cost as to where Ogremon is just level 4, so you can pop things that are a little bit bigger if you don't have D-Brigades on the board. So I found the Ogremon to be a little bit better. I still wanted to play the 1 Dark Roar because it does activate out of security. It's also cheaper to play, so if you're only at 3 and you want to be able to pop a Mechanorimon, for example, you can play this, go down to 0, then you can get your swings in. So it's just for a little bit of variety. I am a big fan of Dark Roar. It is a very powerful card, especially in this type of list, because you can pop things up to 5, 6, 7 play costs a lot of the times. So I just want to play it as 1. I do like the Ogremons a little bit more because they are a body on board and they do have a little bit more versatility, but like I said, this comes out of security. It is a little bit cheaper, so it does work. And then to finish off the deck, we are playing 1 Emergency Program Shutdown. This is the white option card I was talking about with the Analog Boy. I decided to play this to make the security control matchup a little bit better. Versus the security control matchup, a lot of the times I found that it was really hard for me to be able to get the aggression that I needed without getting my board wiped, because a lot of times you needed to really kind of go wide. So I found that in a turn where your opponent gives you like 6, 7 memory or something with a big option card to clear your board, if you have a lot of rookies in your hand, you can go ahead and drop that down, go to 0, and then play Shutdown, put them to 3, and then they can't Ultimate Flare, they can't Gwalt Schwarmer or anything like that to get rid of 4, 5, 6 rookies. And so that gives you the opportunity to then go into your next turn, start swinging in, and then potentially Dark Dramon for game. So I have been liking the 1 Emergency Program Shutdown. It's just a little tech. Sometimes you can't activate it every single time because you only play the 1 Analog Boy, so it was a little bit better in the 2 Analog Boy build, but with playing it at 1, I haven't really found it to be clunky or anything. With this list, there are going to be a lot of cards in your hand that just don't get a lot of use sometimes. Like, for example, if you have multiple Ultimate Flares in hand, probably not going to get a lot of them out there, or if you have multiple Ultimate Flares and an Iron Fist. So having 1 card that sometimes is dead in your hand isn't that big of a deal, but if it comes out of security, it's very good because then your opponent can't play options for the rest of the turn. So if your opponent wants to Ice Wall you or something, it's very good. And then also, like I said, it is... it can stop Ice Wall, so if you play this against Bond going into your next turn where that you really don't want to get Ice Walled, then they're not going to be able to Ice Wall you, they're not going to be able to Hammer Spark, they're not going to be able to do anything, they're not going to be able to Howling Memory Boost or anything like that to slow you down. So I do like the 1 Emergency Program Shutdown. It has helped in multiple matchups. I think playing more is a little too clunky. I think you can really play 1 at max. I don't know if a lot of lists are really playing Emergency Program Shutdown, but I have been playing it, I have been enjoying it, and has been very useful, like I said, in the security control matchup. So, and the 3 Musketeers matchup. So, this is it. This is the list. This is what I'm at with D-Brigade currently. I have been getting a lot of people asking me where I'm at with EX1 D-Brigade, and so I have been testing it recently, trying with the results it's been getting in online tournaments, as well as the results that it got in the Europe Nationals. I knew I had to test this, make sure I was prepared for this going into Nationals, so I wanted to try to get a build that I felt was refined, and this is where I went. That's going to be the best during the current metagame. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions that can change in this list, and I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it does feel like the best list that I have played so far in the current metagame. So if you wanted a baseline for the D-Brigade, you can go ahead and use this one, of course, or you can look at online to all the other lists that have done well recently. It's because D-Brigade can have so many different options that you can use. You can go so many different ways and many different ratios to make the deck work. But if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing you even more EX1 content. If you want to check out my live streams, I have been live streaming a bunch over on my Twitch channel, which the link is going to be in description. At the time you are watching this, I am probably live right now playing this deck once this video goes live, because I am going to be go ahead and testing versus my buddy Chris with this list a little bit later. So if you are watching this, you want to see some more content, see this deck in action, be sure to go down below, check out my Twitch stream, give me a follow, I would appreciate it. But with that being said, I will catch you all next time. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.